Hello and welcome to Take Note with Polly Campbell. I'm Polly and I am a writer who loves notebooks. If you watch a couple of my early videos, well, I guess they're all early videos because we're just starting this channel, but you saw me talk about my three notebooks, the three notebooks I use every day. On the backstory, you heard a little bit about my experience as a writer and the notebooks I've got in my drawer and the things that I use. And today I want to talk about a very special notebook that right now I'm using every day, and it's part of my writing process. I've published four books, and every time I'm working on a book, and that means the early stages of a nonfiction proposal. Right now, while I'm working on a novel, all my books have been nonfiction books. And in that way, you write the proposal. They've been prescriptive books, personal development books. So for each one of those, I've written the proposal in advance. You write out the marketing aspects, how you're going to promote the book, the concept for the book, chapter summaries. There's a whole host of elements to go in a nonfiction book proposal. And you write that proposal, and then you pitch the proposal to agents and publishers. And when you sign a deal with those people, then they come back to you with a contract and you actually write the book. So in my novel, I'm writing the book first and then I will pitch that book, work on selling that. But when it comes to a nonfiction proposal, you write the marketing document, which is all about the book ahead of time. It's a business document. And then you send that proposal around. Now, when I start that process, even before I start writing the proposal, I'm thinking about the book I'm going to pitch. I'm thinking about the book I want to write. It always starts from there, right? With an idea about what you want to create, who's going to benefit from a book like that, what you will include in that book. And it starts with a whole lot of research, nonfiction. This is true stuff based on science and experience and all sorts of things. In that process, when I've become clear about the idea I want to write about, but I haven't done the research and I don't know what direction it's going to take yet, I pull out a new notebook. Now, this is a Staology. I love the little icons on the side. This is my first experience with the Staology, and the paper is great. I will tell you what I don't love about it. I don't like, and you could see this was just a little piece of cotton paper I use as blotting paper. I use a lot of gel inks and fountain pen inks, and so I have that between the pages. What I don't like about the Staology is it has, very minimal at my advanced prehistoric age. I can't read the numbers on top very well. They offer an opportunity for you to circle the date and keep track of your progress. I am a minimal notebooker. I do not like stuff on my pages unless I put it there. So that bugs me. I don't need the extra noise in the notebook, but the paper's sweet for working on with fountain pens. And so I decided to try one I never had before. This is my first one. And this is what I call my book. Now, you'll hear the astrologer Teresa Reed talk about her process book. You'll hear other writers talk about, their book, the notebook they use to start charting their projects and keep track of their writing. And that's something I do with my book. For every book that I've written, I have got started a new notebook. My first one for Imperfect Spirituality 15 years ago now was a Moleskine. Before I was using fountain pens. And I loved that because I loved that size of the Moleskine, but I want, good fountain pen paper. I want the paper to feel good under my hand now. So this Staology, with my book, I start jotting ideas about things I want to get in the book. This is about how writers can use, some energetic ideas to finish their work, some mindset and magic to finish their work. And so as I started researching that idea, I would just throw things in it and write notes to myself, questions to myself, looking at other things. What is the target for this book? That's one of the notes I wrote here at the top of the page because I'm getting ready to write the proposal. It's actually in the works now. But as I was researching the book, I was writing things down, comp titles, which are necessary to give publishers and agents an idea of what you can compare this work to that's already in the market. I was writing down potential sources and influencers I might interview on the subject. I was writing tips for myself. Get specific, Polly, so you could see. Now, this book will include research that I'm including in the book, structure, chapter summary ideas, things I want to cover, mapped out, loose outlines. I do outline my books. We'll talk about that another day because it's not like any outline you've learned in English class, but definitely is something that I've found a very loose way of doing to help me stay on track. It also has publications I want to check in that might have suitable research. I only use peer-reviewed studies in journals from universities and reputable institutions because I want this based in fact, science and personal experience. And I also write about here's chapter one, just notes about what I want to include chapter one and the things I get asked to talk about that I might want to talk about in chapter one. I include everything in my books about the project I'm working on now, what it's been like, how it's easy, how it's hard, what's working, what's not, how my writing process has changed with this book or not. So in that way, it's kind of like a work diary. I keep a log line of how it went that day, but I also keep all the information about the book. Now, I'll bring that information onto the computer at a later time, but this is the creative process of really vetting the idea of getting the research, finding the scope of my project, and I always do that by hand in a notebook. Because it takes root in my body. It takes root in my mind and my creativity a little easier. And I connect to the idea better that way. And then actually it's much easier for me to retrieve it from my mind and put it on into the computer, into the document when I actually start writing. I will write the proposal and the book on the screen, right, in the computer. But I will have much of it mapped out here before, in this Staology, in this book, before I go ahead with that. I also like this because I can throw it in my bag and carry it around. So if I'm running into something that's interesting to me or another idea, I can write it all here in my book. Each book gets a different notebook. It's also a fun way to use my notebooks and try some things out. So that's how I'm using this Staology. Again, I love the paper. I do not like the way the pages are set up, just with that little extra few words of distraction up above. So I'm not sure I'd pick this one up again, but the size is good and the paper is good. So maybe that'll outweigh that little annoyance at the top of the page. That's how I'm starting to write and work on this next nonfiction book project. If you're a writer or you're working on your ideas, leave a comment to me. Let me know how you start to vet your idea, how you start to roll it around in your brain before you put it out on paper. Do you use a notebook, and what are you working on? I'd love to hear from you. That's all for today. Thank you for tuning in to take note. I'll be back with more tips and tricks and ideas and thoughts about the notebooks we love. Thank you for watching.